let's talk about some news. And I want to start with Dave Chappelle because, I was talking about the Alec Baldwin incident earlier. I believe new information has emerged showing that Alec Baldwin is potentially criminally responsible for this. And I'm not trying to make this a segment about Alec Baldwin, but I want to explain. This is a guy who is the producer in a movie, who knew there had been a negligent discharge multiple times, was then handed a weapon, did not check it, even though he's been trained for decades, pointed it at the crew, pulled the trigger, killing a woman. And you see all these people on the left saying he's not at fault, it was an accident. There was a post on Reddit where they were like, if you think that a guy who accidentally shot someone should go to jail, but the president shouldn't, Donald Trump, then they're like, something's wrong with you. And I'm like, let me just say it one more time. Alec Baldwin was a producer on the movie. There had been 2 separate negligent discharges the crew knew about. Some crew had walked off the set. He has been trained in how to handle the firearms on different movies, and he didn't, which means there's got to be a criminal investigation into what he knew and what he didn't. Now, I bring that up because it's purely cultural. The politics don't matter. Alec Baldwin is an activist, right? So everyone's like, Alec Baldwin, we got to protect him. That's really what it's about. So when I see the story with Dave Chappelle, now to segue into why the Dave Chappelle story matters, I actually was saying in the past week or so with this whole Dave Chappelle Netflix thing, you get the Netflix employees coming out, physically attacking a guy, claiming that after they destroy his sign, claim it's now a weapon. Then the media reports that the guy was actually the one attacking them. Culture is everything. And they've got the media, they've got cultural institutions. But Dave Chappelle did something funny. Variety says Dave Chappelle willing to discuss the closer with trans community, but says he's not bending to anybody's demands. This is not true. Dave Chappelle actually says members of the LGBTQ plus and trans community were supportive of him. These are the activists. These are the wingnut activists, the political actors, not people who are simply LGBTQ. And he said, quote, I want everyone in this audience to know that even though the media frames it, that it's me versus that community, that is not what it is. Do not blame the LGBTQ community for any of this crap. This has nothing to do with them. It's about corporate interests and what I can say and what I cannot say. For the record, and I need you to know this, everyone I know from that community has been loving and supporting, so I don't know what all this nonsense is about. He said, I believe Chappelle also spoke about the upcoming documentary. This film that I made was invited to every film festival in the United States, and some of those invitations I accepted. When this controversy came out about the closer, they began disinviting me from these film festivals. And now today, not a film company, not a movie studio, not a film festival, nobody will touch this film. Thank God for Ted Sarandos and Netflix. He's the only one that didn't cancel me yet. Wow. This is important context people did not realize. That Dave Chappelle has been canceled across the board, but he's standing defiant. They go on to say, though Chappelle said he was willing to meet with some members of the trans community or the activist community. See how they try to do that with Variety? They try to make these extremists the entirety of the trans community. I'm pretty sure Blair White's a member of that community. We had a fan at the event Saturday who was trans. This is not fair. He says he jokingly listed off a slew of conditions that would have to be met. Quote, to the transgender community, I am more than willing to give you an audience, but you will not summon me. I'm not bending to anybody's demands. And if you want to meet with me, I'd be more than willing to, but I have some conditions. First of all, you cannot come if you have not watched my special from beginning to end.
Nice.
You must come to a place of my choosing at a time of my choosing. And thirdly, you must admit that Hannah Gadsby is not funny. There it was.
Brilliant. Smart. I loved it. And that was the perfect response we needed right now. There's a huge conflict happening. And we also have to understand that this is not just Dave Chappelle shooting shots for no reason. This Hannah Gadsby attacked Dave and the CEO of Netflix before. The CEO of Netflix came out in response to a lot of this controversy by saying, quote, so we have Sex Education, Orange is the New Black, Control Z, Hannah Gadsby, and Dave Chappelle all on Netflix. Key to this is increasing diversity on the content team itself. Now, that's a simple response saying, hey, everyone here gets a voice on this platform, on this very important platform. And Hannah responded on Instagram by saying, quote, Ted, just a quick note to let you know that I would prefer if you didn't drag my name into your mess. Now I have to deal with even more of the hate and anger that Dave Chappelle's fans like to unleash on me every time Dave gets $20 million to process his emotions, stunned partial world views. And then later she adds, you didn't pay me nearly enough to deal with this with the real world consequences of the hate speech whistling you refuse to acknowledge. F you, Ted, your amoral algorithm cult. So those are very big words by her.
Yeah.